we have an additional gasket because we also have the front side gasket for where this goes in. So you're gonna wanna make sure you clean all that up. Something I didn't do is clean all inside of here. I'm hoping to leave that sort of undisturbed. That's my goal, as best I can. I hope this surface here mates well. It feels like there's a little bit of corrosion underneath it. Like if you feel along it, I feel like a bump, but I'm hoping that all is compensated for on the cover once I tamp down on those 9 bolts that will hold this against here. But otherwise, I think things are looking okay. And now I just took out that piece of wood. And what I need to do is start lowering this cover on. So if you remember correctly, I'm gonna do that from inside the car because that is where I have the strap for lowering it. Before I do that, according to the directions, I went ahead and I remember we did all of the connectors on the battery control module. Then after that, it says high voltage battery cover replacement install. So that's what we're doing here. So I can't see the underside while I'm doing this, so hopefully I do all right. I think for the most part it's gonna fall into place because it's a big bulky thing under there. What we're gonna have to think about though is the high voltage disconnect has a little hole that has to go into the top of this cover, and that's gonna help us line things up anyway. Let's begin. Unless you guys saw something that I didn't. That was all in all very anticlimactic. And now we have to just start cinching down the cover all around. Remember, there's a few of these sort of plug spots that are gonna have to get into their holes. So we might go ahead and push those down all around before we start sealing things in place. On the back here. That looks good. On the side. Everything looks honestly quite good. Including, let's see what the front looks like. That's a tight squeeze. Yep. Front looks good. In fact, the front looks great. Probably the best part of the whole thing. Okay, so now the only place I still see things kind of sort of lifted up is right back where you're looking too. And so I think that because of the high voltage disconnect, so I'm going to replace those 4 bolts on the top and then get them screwed in before I go down any further. Now what I experienced with these was that I had screwed things up a little bit, like I said, and so here's the screw, the original one. It is a T30, and I had stripped actually 2 of them out because I was sort of ham-fisted about it. So what I did is I got some new hex head screws and washers that should approximate the same thing. Something like that. And the other thing about these that makes them special is that the holes they screw into were filled with RTV. So what I figure is I should do the same thing in order to make sure there's a good watertight seal there. Let's go ahead and take a look down in there. Going down in the hole there. Where is it? Right there. I got that cover on it right now just to keep stuff from falling on. But I've got the 4 bolt holes all around. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue these up and start screwing them in. Get that all in place. Remember, that sits kind of loosely anyway, so it's probably got some room to wiggle around. I'm going to turn off the video for a sec while I do this, though. All right. So if we look down in here, I've got my 4 new bolts in there. I did this ahead of time because I want to make sure that that high voltage plate screwed in okay and it wasn't getting in the way of anything else. You might choose to do it later once it's pulled up into the vehicle, but I didn't want to take the chance of things being misaligned. And I know that that high voltage thing that is sort of loosely in a plastic holder, so I know it can jiggle around a bit anyway. So now it's been jiggled, it's in position, it's screwed up tight. I don't have to worry about it being in the wrong spot. And we should be able to start going around tightening in place, including back here, which was lifted up before a bit, tighten in place all of those screws all the way around. I don't want to go too tight, so I want to make sure that everything's fitting. But I want to get them all into position loosely. And I'm going to start at this first spot here. That's going to be my first one. Okay. And hopefully no one ever has to go back in this battery again. That's my dream. There's one. Two. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. All in the corner. 10. 11. 12. Around the side of the T part. 13. 13 on the side of the vehicle. Back. That's 14. 15. 16. 17. 18. 19. 20. 21. 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 in the corner, 27, 28, 29, 30 right across me, right across, 31, 32, 33, 34 on this side. 35. 36. 37. And 38 rounds out the total number of fasteners around the base. One. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Alright, we got 9 in there. What I noticed about this front cover is it's not quite in position for where I'd want it to be. And I can see it because I can see where the old washers were. Now I'm going to try and line those up. Alright, got the drill. I'm just going to set this drill to its lowest ratchet setting. I'm just going to get them all kind of close. I'm gonna finish right now. And this is one of those situations we're trying to make a seal. And so if we go too tight, we actually can sort of compromise the seal. So, okay. Now, start going around here. Seal. I'm going to go that one's here. Okay. I think it's like 7 newton meters. I'm going to get my little torque wrench to do these guys. I'm going to start right back up here where I've been starting everything. There we go. We're trying to make a seal. I'm trying to hold these together and fall apart. At least I can read the angle on this. I feel like that's a risk. Getting ready for it. You should try this out. So, let's happen. Whether I want to or not. Okay, that should be everybody tightened. Now we're going to start lifting it back into place, and while we do so, we're going to be careful of all of our connections here, that none of them get crushed under it. We're going to have to do it slowly. Obviously we got a lot of battery to lift. It's the opposite of the way that I brought it down, so it's going to be a process, but we'll get it there. Alright, I don't know where I lost you guys. I've continued moving things up. As I've continued to move things up, I've been really focusing on making sure I have the clearance back up at the front here. Nothing's getting caught. And in fact, my tubes are almost approximately right where they're going to need to be. So I'm going to go up just a bit more. Try and get a few of the bolts in to line things up. Keep things sort of positioned well as we sort of cinch it into place. Hopefully provide some guidance. All right, the back, I'm high enough to start screwing in bolts. And go one on each side, the front and at the back. My lid is my guide number. Also take a look inside the car and see how you're looking in there. Did you get inside the car? You're doing this. People didn't get around. So that. Just reason enough to do your guys. That's what you want. Watch yourself, see that. Really easily. Nice, positive. Contact back. That's cool. I can't move it. Okay. I can still see what that used to be. Because there's some, crud markings. They're not going. Now, I remember 18 days big before, but the one on the back. Here they are. Highly unlikely one is misaligned, so I'll have to see what's going on there. Alright, so I'm going to do things a little bit out of sequence. I've got all of my fasteners just short of tightened. Got them all the way around. And what I want to do is actually get my electrical connectors in place. I want to make sure that everything here fits into place before I go snugging everything down. I just think it's a better idea. So the first one's going to be the very top big kahuna, which is a tight fit, but hopefully you can get it into place like I just did. It's pushing it in, and then you get the click, and then that should be it. That's my big one. Right, and you can see big one just in. Where is it in place? Let me get all those other guys in your way, but it's up there. It's in place. There it is. See it? Okay. Now. Got our next thing Are those directions at? Cabin heater control, air conditioning, battery charge harness. 1, 2, 3 across. And go to this far side first. And there's one. Now, it's number 2 and number 3. Each of them has the little red tab to lock them in place. Locked. Locked. The middle one's the only one that's not pushed in all the way. There we go. And now it's able to be locked. 1, 2, 3. Can you see them? 1, 2, 3 with their locks in. I'm going to go ahead and verify with the video I took earlier to make sure I have them all in the same spots they're supposed to be in before I go any further. But when I do go further, what we're going to do is put in those coolant lines. All right, so since those plugs went in so easily, I'm going to go ahead and put the 2 coolant lines in. Put them loosely in position. And got my 2 clippy clips, which will need to go in position once this guy's in place. There's one in position. There's 2. We've got our 2 connectors here. Maybe there's an order for this. I guess I better check. Nope. Alright, the one on the left side is in, and its little safety tab is in. This guy goes through his little hole to hold the thing in place, and then this other one goes on its spot. Safety tab is in. Basically everything's solid up here. FYI, it's a good place to be. Pretty happy about it. Back to where it was talking about tightening up the bolts. And for the ones that use the 15 millimeters socket, I think there's like 18 of them, those ones need 58 Newton meters of torque. And then the ones at the back, right near the gas tank, those ones need 22 Newton meters. Actually, I guess what I should do is not be trying to lift the car by these bolt heads. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a little more pressure on this jack. I just saw the body of the car lift up just the tiniest bit. All right, 58. 58. 58. 58. 58. 58. 58. 58. All right, Alright, those are all the ones across the front. Go to these back ones. These back ones are not 58. These back ones are 22. So that's what we'll do. And remember, 13 millimeter. Alright, back ones are done. We're all snuggied. That means we can lower our battery support. So here it comes now. Not like I'm trying to do on the car. Anyway, okay. The crucifix is out. Ground strap install, tighten to 9 Newton meters. Alright, so we kept our ground strap nuts right here so we wouldn't have to find them later. My ground straps don't look as good as I would like them to, but nonetheless. We'll put them on. There, can I remember? Right rule, these are not low. Not so worried about that. That feels like a contact. Is there something maybe? There's nothing. That's this guy here. Remember, this is sort of like protecting the battery from the heat of the exhaust, so it just fits on this far side over here. We've got those two plastic nuts that are going to hold it on. They're 10 millimeter. Do this one on this side first. I'm gonna sort of just approximately line things up so I see where I'm going. Maybe nothing place I don't support me. So like, one on the side, right? Please stop talking about it guys so much. I'm more used to this. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to have a heat that place there for my heat shield. That's it. Really, it's on the face. I'm going to more about it. Come on first. I'm running right now. So the fastener. Sure. Let you guys just drop through them. That's it. One thing. Lose them. Get that away. Pop that on there. There you go. So, also a 7mm in the corner. Not that right now. Done. Like 2, 3. One, two, back here, center, wherever. Together. 1, 2, 3. 3, 1, 2. Supposed to be in the middle. 1, 2. I'm gonna that. I could have done better about that. Love it. That's it. I have to get some holes I don't have to hold on to. Alright, the next thing we're gonna do, hop inside and replace that high, move the Pringles over, high power, blah 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 blah. So here we go, opening up. Now we're down into the area where it belongs. Line it up, you can see there's pins on one side, not the other. And then the hole. I think that's it. That's it. Just that easy. Now it's back in place. Unless I'm misunderstanding something, there's nowhere else for it to go. That's it. Donezo. Alright, Jones up. Plastic compartments. It'll drop there. Close that. Remove the back there so that we can handle our battery. Okay. This is rather simple. Just gotta reconnect the battery. In this case, it's just that 10mm. Make sure you don't have the car key in here. I guess it's supposed to stay out. Oh yeah. I see the sparks. Something's excited. Oh, interior lights. I've heard of those. Haven't experienced them in a while, but I understand they exist. Alright. Oh yeah. Negative is on. You probably have one of these plastic covers that go over the positive in case you have it exposed. I had it exposed because I left the battery on a slow charge, one of the intelligent chargers as they call them, while this work was being done, because when we do the programming later we want a full battery. I'll try to remember to mention that at the beginning of the video. Alright. Connecting to tech line connect. Lease check, software updates check. Connected. Connect vehicle. See, I might need to have the VCX Nano. There we go. VX diag. Continue. Let's see if it's able to find it. That's me. Cool. Then I'm going to go to SPS2. And reprogram. Next. Battery energy control module. Next. Current vehicle, take your available VIN slots. Okay. Beep, 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 boop, boop, boop. Next. Let's give it a try. Transfer data screen. The reprogramming could be whatever the thing is for up to 10 minutes. ECU. Give a little commentary here. So basically I bought the VCX Nano tool. I followed all the directions that were there for installing it. So there's the VCX VX Manager, there was the TechLine Connect, there was GDS2 and Tech to Win. So that's like all the different software that you could possibly use for Chevy. The VCX Nano that I got was also one that had the licenses, or the initial licenses with the company for GM, but then you also have to get a subscription on the GM website. So that's the AC Delco Tools, something like that. And I got a 2-year subscription. I think it's like $50 or something like that, and that provides the access to the software that we're downloading right now. Without that, you can't open this SPS2, and you can't reprogram your new BECM to your car. So obviously that would be an issue for us. What's the point of installing a new one if you can't program it, right? So what I had done is, before I ever even got into this, I made sure that I had everything installed on my computer and that I could connect with the car, that I could go up into this point where I just pressed next without any issues. And if I could get there, then I felt like I was in good shape. So now this is me just, cruised right through it. We'll see if everything's right. And by the way, this is the last step. Program the battery energy control module. That was in the directions. All right, vehicle processing update. This may take several minutes. Do not shut down TechLine Connect. You still have to reprogram the one more module. I'll show you here. So I'm going to connect to mine. Iridescent pearl tri-coat. You can see that build and delivery date, which is why I'm doing this repair myself. All right, SPS, that's what we want. Load it up. We're on the reprogram setting, just like before. Got the right car there. Next.
And you'll notice I'm in the car right now, and that's because for this one you have to be in the car. So we've already done the K16, whatever it is, battery engine control module. So now we have to do is the hybrid powertrain control module 2. So next, once you've got it selected. Alright, so check out all these important instructions. Do all of them. Close the hood, turn off your car. I realize it might be an accessory mode, but turn it all the way off. Open and close the driver door. Wait 30 seconds before applying the brake pedal. Count it out, don't do it short. There's no reason to screw it up over a few seconds. Then, hold the brake pedal and start the programming event. Okay, so basically you're just going to keep your foot on that brake pedal the whole time, and it will do some funky stuff once or twice. I'm not going to click next because I just finished doing this, but you would. You'd be right down here and you'd click next. For me, I'm just going to click cancel. But anyway, you'll go through with it, and then just like it said for the other one, which I realized I didn't quite highlight, it tells you to clear the diagnostic codes, and it gives you a little button to do that right after it finishes. That's going to be right down here. And then to turn off the car for 30 seconds. So make sure you do those things. You don't want that to be the reason why that programming didn't work well for you. But otherwise, that's it. And if you're like me, I'm just going to go ahead and get out of here now. Let's see. I want to disconnect. What I got to do? Shut down.
All right, and so now, although it seems kind of crazy, this is my actual first time opening the hood in this whole project. And it's to be filling this reservoir for the coolant. So I have a flathead screwdriver here, and that's because in order to open this cap, there's a little notch that's in one of these little scalloped areas on the caps. You find it, and you have to put through because, as it turns out, this cap, and now I'm reaching from the underside to grab it, is made with two pieces that need to line up. See them? Boom. They line up, and the screwdriver goes through. You don't line those up, it don't matter how many times you turn this cap, it is never going to make a damn difference. I'm not a fan of filling from that giant jar, it's just too hard. I'm going to go here. That is nice and easy. What I'm seeing is that I'm just like sort of filling up the reservoir, probably more than the fill line, definitely more than the fill line, because the fill line hasn't gone down at all. The reason for that is that I think that the pump needs to be pumping the fluid through the system. The alternative is to use one of those vacuum filler things, but I don't have one of those. So what I'm hoping is that if I just use the computer to tell it to run the pump, that'll be enough to circulate this through. I could be wrong, and you guys are gonna find out on this video. But I'm gonna go get my computer now in order to start being able to do that. Setting up the computer is a whole separate thing. I'll give you a link to how I did it according to another guide that's on the internet. Okay, so we finally got some sunny daytime weather, and what I was doing is trying to figure out a way to prime this coolant pump and everything. So what I had showed you is that right here I had filled it to the top, and I wasn't really seeing anything happening. And so there's two things that needed to happen in order for this to work. I need to be able to put a vacuum on this. And so you can do it different ways, but what I found the easiest way was this little hose right here, or this one right here. But I use this one right here. It's got a one-way valve in the cap, and so we can't use the regular cap on here anyway. So anyway, I took this hose, and you can see I have an orange line that comes around to this guy here. This is just a pasta jar that has two holes drilled in the top so that the tubes fit in tightly. And so what happens is the one that's coming here
goes down into the bottom of this. That way if any coolant pulls through. And then there's another one here at the top that's very shallow. And this one just goes to a vacuum pump that I have here. Maybe you have a vacuum pump like this, maybe you don't. There's a whole bunch of different ways you can do this, but you need to be able to pull a vacuum. And so then, after that, what did I do? Well, then I went and I was using GDS2 diagnostics. Make sure that it loads your correct car. So connecting to device. Got it, great. Enter. And then, ding, ding, ding. We go module diagnostics. We go down to hybrid powertrain control module 2. Then we go to control functions. And then here's where you see the hybrid EV battery pack coolant pump. And we want to be able to activate that so we can pump the coolant through the system. And this is going to do the last bit, which is going to allow us to make sure that we have our coolant topped off. So I'm going to go ahead and click over here at 80%. That's the maximum. So now it's going to start, you'll see the values changing slowly. It's going to start pumping it up. So that thing's cruising. Then I'm going to come back over here. And what I'm going to do, the best of my abilities, I'm just going to cover over this. I'm wearing a rubber glove so that I can seal it well. And that's so that this hose will function to be able to pull the vacuum through it. So I'm just going to go on and turn that vacuum pump on. And now I'm creating a vacuum here. And that vacuum, now I'm just going to kill it, should be enough to assist. You see there's a little bit of coolant pulling through, but that's okay. Most of it was just like coming out of this reservoir. Actually, I already did this a couple times, which is why not really much is changing. But this is the process that you can do. I didn't have one of the fancy vac and fill lines that hooks up to your air compressor, so this is what I chose because I had this available. There's probably different ways to do this, but anyway, this is working. So I'm going to do this a couple more times, and then that's basically going to be the last step of this besides getting it down off of the lift. And then I'll show you the glory that is no check engine light. I now have EV range. Everything is normal. We are back in business, I guess, except for maybe that I'm not wearing my seatbelt. So that's it. You know, it was a huge process, but we're on the other side of it, and now the car is functional again. And just to prove it, there we go. Forward, backwards, we can do them all. And we can also turn it off. So hooray. Dunzo.